I want to share with you about my background. I come from a family with 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and but the unique position was that we had a tradition in my family that when my mother is about to give birth, she goes to a traditional home in Malacca. And the normal thing is that after the child is born, she brings the child back. And my parents happened to stay in Kuala Lumpur, and my ancestral home is in Malacca. And when my turn came in, I was born in Malacca. After 2 weeks, my mother left for KL without me. And so I grew up with my grandmother. I understood that my grandmother wanted me to be with her, and to grow up with her in that family home. So I grew up myself, and I had an interesting childhood in the sense that before the Second World War, I went to school for 1 year, and then the Japanese invaded Malaysia. I grew up under Japanese occupation, and I changed from the English education to Chinese and Japanese. And after 1945, after 5 years, the British came back, so I went back to English school and picked up English again. But by the age of 18, I was ready to go to university. So I had a very interesting sort of background under different government situation and a lot of experiences. So, but what was interesting was when I was 18, I was in a pre-university, and I had a retreat with a Jesuit priest leading the retreat, and it gave me a lot of time to contemplate, to think about the future. And after the retreat, I come to a conclusion that what I want is to understand nature and to understand what is going on with surroundings, to understand the blue sky, the deep blue sea, how the plants grow and so forth. And I also want to be the first to discover new things. And even at the time I was thinking of 2 forms of knowledge, and that is one type of knowledge which exists. So this type of knowledge, in today's context, you can get it from Wikipedia. It's known, knowledge, someone has discovered, recorded, and you know. But I was really interested to be equipped so that I can discover something that is not known. For example, free radicals, special intermediate evaluation was not known before 1906. It was Professor Moses Gomberg who discovered this. So after 1906, everybody knows about free radical. Today, people know of free radical, antioxidant, the effect on health and so forth. So I was, at that time, of course at that time, I do not know anything about free radical, but I was in that frame of mind that I want to be equipped so that I can discover new things which is not discovered in the world. But I was a bit too ambitious maybe. So I was thinking of Albert Einstein, who discovered theory of relativity. So there was an idea to be always hungry for knowledge and hungry to find new things. And things like work of Albert Einstein, work by Albert Schweitzer, who who look after the lepers in Africa. It came to my mind. Things of people who have done some original work and that left and will leave a good legacy for humanities. And I'm also attracted to be a wealthy person, to rest on their wealth, and indulge themselves, for the rest of their life, So that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for something unique, discovery, and if possible, the discovery will outlast my life, So that years after I pass on, people will still look in the book, in the libraries. Oh, this is the work discovered in Malaysia, something like that. So, with this opportunity given, I'll be able to share some of my experiences in my life, which involve a lot of reinventing myself. And so let me first start tell you the first phase of my life. The first phase of my life was to equip myself to show new knowledge, and I have decided in my course of my education to get the experience not only at the National University in Singapore, but also to King's College London, MIT in America, and Oxford. And I've chosen the field of free radicals. It's very academic. At that time, when I entered into this field in the late 50s, it's considered to be the new organic chemistry of that time. The new organic chemistry. As you know, in chemistry, there are several branches. You have inorganic, most of you have done your inorganic chemistry, physical chemistry, and organic chemistry, considered chemistry of carbon atoms. But in this area of free radicals, it was new, and although the first radical was discovered in 1906, the effect of this discovery was not felt. But in the 80s, things have changed. People were suffering from radiation sickness. They suffer from aging process. The aging process also had been associated with free radicals, and so this new chemistry have a relevance. And I wrote a book called Chemistry of Free Radicals, and I wanted to share some of my experiences illustrating this idea of reinventing myself. And as I mentioned earlier, that I really first wanted to discover new knowledge, and that happened to be in the area, academic subject, area of free radicals. And that time when I entered the field is known as a new organic chemistry, later found to be very relevant to explain radiation sickness and to explain the aging process. And I wrote a book on this, basic chemistry of free radicals, and we published by Edward Arnold, used in Oxford as a reference material. But I want to mention this incident in Oxford. I was in Oxford doing research, and in the evening I was in the library preparing for my research in Oxford. And at dawn came to me and said, "Are you Dr. Ong?" I said, "Yes." "Do you write this book on the chemistry of free radicals?" I said, "Yes." And I was not very sure of myself. I asked him, "Is there anything wrong with this book?" "Oh no, thank you very much. This book is very helpful for me to give my tutorial to my student in Oxford." I said, "Are you sure?" And I was very happy. In fact, it was very rewarding to find a book written from Kuala Lumpur used in Oxford as a resource material. It gave me a lot of encouragement. Now, another incident I want to mention is that I was very proud of this book, The Chemistry of Free Radicals. I handed in to my Vice Chancellor then in Penang, University of Science, Malaysia, Tan Sri Professor Hamzah Sendut. And he looked at the book, he looked at me, and looked at me again, and he said, "Augustine, don't waste your time. Do something more useful to Malaysia." I was initially upset, but when I recovered, I think he was right. Free radical was not so important to Malaysia then, and I should do something useful, which is relevant. So I was searching for topics, what to do, and I decided that I would work on palm oil because the Mono Research Institute, the industry is doing well, the production was increasing every year by 1 million tons, and I said, this is an area I should know. And I'm not trained for it, but of course I have the basic knowledge of chemistry, and I decided, so I told him that I will work on palm oil. And I have a number of thoughts that come to my mind. And then I will do something that when I mention it, people know that it's relevant to Malaysia. I have another thought that comes to my mind. I was thinking, I was a professor in USM. What happens when I reach a retiring age? When I have to retire from this post, and I want to go to an area where my knowledge is sought after in industry, so that I can continue to contribute. So sort of continue reinventing yourself, that you are always contributing to from education to industrial consultancy and so forth. So to give you an example, I decided to take my family for a 2-week holiday from Penang to Singapore. And I stop at every oil palm plantation, the milling, the refineries, and to find out what constitutes the industry, what are the present problems, the present successes, what are they thinking. And fortunately, when I traveled down to various spots of the industry in Malaysia and Singapore, I always find my former students. So I have found no problem of getting information. So I told the industry, I know nothing about palm oil, but I'd like to learn from you what you know about palm oil. But I must tell you that while I'm getting information from the industry, I'm also doing research with my techniques to find out what palm oil is and what its potential are and so forth. Now, just to finish off this incident, by the time I finished the tour, first my family was totally surprised. They said, "You never took us for holiday. This is the first time you've taken us for holiday." But this holiday associated with my quest to find answers, to know the status of the palm oil industry. Anyway, we spent 2 weeks. I came back. I went to the lab, tried to solve the problem. And I did this work. Now this is quite important. I did this work to solve the problem by another technique, because the process used by the industry at that time, using detergent, was not acceptable to the Japanese and the American, I have a technique of doing the same thing without detergent, and it happened to be successful. So I was describing to you my discovery of a new process for the industry, and to do this separation continuously, and I thought this is a good opportunity for me to invite the Vice Chancellor again. He said, Prof. Tan Sri, you told me to do something relevant. In the last few months, I've been working on this new process and show and demonstrate to the Vice Chancellor. Then I have a process that can be done continuously without detergent. And he has another question for me at the time. He said, Augustine, if you say that this can be done so simply, very easy, how was it that it was not discovered before? Only you, now you have discovered, why didn't other people discover before you? So that stunned me for a few seconds. Then I answered him in this way. I said, Tan Sri, your question is very deep and relevant, but are you assuming that all simple things in the world have been discovered? And he said, you agree with me? Yes, not everything has been discovered. This is one of them. And I was so very happy about that. But this gave me another reason to reinvent myself. I have stumbled on a new technology which I have filed in a patent in London, and this introduced me to another area. In a way, I'm reinventing myself from a academic researcher to an inventor now, having made my first patent, granted a patent in UK. At that time, Malaysia was not ready to grant a patent, so I got a patent from UK, from England. And I mentioned that one of the professors in Canada was using another area called flax seed oil, and his student found my patent, used it to apply to solve his problem. I got a nice letter from him saying, thank you very much for your technology, it helped me solve his problem. But the important thing is that I moved into another area, that to scientific discovery, and in a way reinventing myself from a researcher to an inventor. And that also explained my further work to found Malaysian Invention Design Society, and that spurred up again a series of activities, including have an international inventors exhibition every year, and which has been very successful. Every year, in the last few years, about 1,000 inventions, and so this is area. This is I want to explain the beginning of my diversifying into another area, basically applied industrial problem, and I want to describe that a little bit more about the industrial problem. I worked on this research. Later on, I was invited to be director and then Director General of the palm oil research of Malaysia, and Palm Oil Research Institute in Malaysia, and this gave me a lot of opportunity and a lot of happiness actually. Before being moved from the university to the research institute, I had to do all this research outside my office hours, after office, holidays, weekends. So when I was invited I can say I can spend my full time on this area. Not only that, but in my work I could collaborate with researchers of different fields, not only different areas of science, but also engineering, economics, and so forth. And that gave me a wonderful time. I could spend almost day and night on this, on different aspects. But it gave also a lot of challenges. There are many challenges. I think I highlight two things. I joined the Palm Oil Research Institute of Malaysia, where I have more opportunity to focus on my new area, and in the process reinventing myself from academic research to applied research. There are a number of things, new things I have adopted and implemented. Example, we are used to do on a test tube scale, small scale, and in this palm oil research, I have moved one project from a lab scale to a pilot plant scale and to an industrial scale production of the palm biodiesel. So that's one area I moved to change. But the other thing, being now, there's another transformation. The Americans who have been attacked palm oil, and the industry, the government want to appoint an expatriate to lead. He turned it down. He says he got an appointment by the UN to work in Sudan and not available. And so they said, okay, the finger point at me because I was Director General of Palm Oil Research. So, although I did not welcome, let's say, because after appointed as a Director General in February '87, in March, the American attacked us, and I was appointed to handle this problem. So I had intention to spend some time with my people, about 200 researchers in the institute. I want to know them first. But now I have to do both. I have to know them as well as tackle this issue of negative campaign against palm oil. So I did this work for 2 years and managed to overcome the problem. The American called for a truce. So when I came back, my friends from Germany, a scientist friend, said, Augustine, you are no longer, you are now a super salesman instead of a research scientist. So again, I've been transforming, reinventing, transforming into various roles. And so that having accomplished, then, and you should know, as I mentioned earlier, I told the industry I know nothing about this field. I want to learn from you. But at the end of my period, by the time I finished as a Director General, I discovered about half a dozen new products for the industry. And I said, I told them I know nothing. At the end of it, I introduced new products. And I said, well, why? How did this happen? Now, so I've learned whatever knowledge they have, but I have also independently tried to find out on my own. That is through your scientific techniques, analysis, chemical analysis, use your latest instrument to find out what palm oil is, what they have, what happened in the processing, and why they have neglected because the industry did not realize that these are potential. So I've introduced the special vitamin E, the carotene, and so forth. And another area quite interesting is that in 1981, I thought of this, the situation of commodity which the prices commodity up and down. And how to stabilize the price? So the normal economic way is that you stockpiling. You buy when the price is low, sell when the price is high. But there's a holding cost. Because when you hold, when you buy and hold, you have to pay interest on the capital borrowed. So I said, can we do this, a technical solution to an economic problem? And so I suggested for converting palm oil into methyl esters, into diesel. And the industry was very divided. They say, how can you convert a food into non-food? I said, no, this is only to be done when no one wants your oil. Anyway, there was very argument, so 1981. So I said, okay, we take a vote. 41% for, 49% against. I said, that's good enough. 2% gap, we carry on. Today, this idea has been used. We have established the technology. We have implemented this for price stabilization. Malaysia and Indonesia even go in the bigger way. And the important thing is, before this idea of biodiesel came in, the most people can expect the price of palm oil to be about 1,000 per ton. Today, after this is introduced, nothing less than 2,000. The floor price has moved 1,000 per ton. But with 19 million tons, the country has benefited 19 billion ringgit every year. But nobody mentioned that it was thought of by Augustine Ong.
I have a question also.
Yeah, okay.
When the competitor said that the palm oil is not healthy for the life,
Yeah.
and you are, through your experiment and experience in the organic chemistry, you discover with a formula that the palm oil is very healthy and useful for the body. So can you explain more?
About this. Now, in the anti-palm oil campaign called anti-tropical oil, they include palm oil, pumpkin oil, and coconut oil.
Yep.
Because they say all highly saturated is bad for your heart. Then I was right in the middle to counter this. So I said, let's do some research so that it's easy to understand the position of palm oil. In 1987, the basis of the anti-palm oil campaign is that the oversaturation is high. Now, palm oil is 50% saturated, palmolene is 40%, soybean is 16% saturated. So I decided that to do research to compare palm olein, this is the olive of palm oil, with virgin olive oil.
Excellent.
So everybody says, oh, there's no problem with olive oil, it's the best oil. And I did this research expecting palm oil to be slightly worse. The result of this experiment, done using international protocol at the Institute of Medical Research, there was no difference. I was surprised. There was no difference.
No any difference between the constituents of the palm oil and olive oil?
There's no difference in terms of effect on your LDL, HDL. And this work was repeated in University of Sydney by Professor Trashwell. He confirmed the result. It was repeated in China with more than 100 participants, and there was no difference. And all this, there were several papers. I will explain to you in detail the original papers. There were at least 5 papers to record, done in different labs in different countries, so there's no difference. The question is, how do you explain that? And I explained that I have a hypothesis called SN2 hypothesis. Basically, is that what is important is the fatty acid at the middle position of the molecule. We call SN2. And if palm, and very interesting in nature, the fat in nature generally have unsaturation in the middle position. This is fantastic. And palm oil and the middle position, 90% unsaturated. Now, give you an example. Cocoa butter, chocolate, the overall is 67% saturated, but middle position is 100% oleic acid, 100% unsaturated. And so when this work was done in CSRO recently, just published, there's no difference between cocoa butter and virgin olive oil or the effect on your LDL, HDL. So this is a powerful evidence to show the effects of this oil on your blood lipids. It depends on the structure of the fat, which I will explain afterwards.
Thanks, Professor Augustine. I think what you said is very vital. Before, we used to tell our families, don't use palm oil at home.
Oh, yeah.
But now with what you said, you prove that palm oil is a good for health,
yeah.
and palm oil and olive oil are the same
effect,
benefit-wise. Right. So from now, I will speak to all my network that use the palm oil is very useful, is very good, and also very cheap.
Very affordable.
Yeah.
Now I said that palm oil is as good as virgin olive oil in terms of effect on lipids. Mm-hmm. But in terms of performance, palm oil is better than olive oil because it's stable. The virgin olive oil, there are too many double bonds, is easily oxidized. I will explain to you.
And also there is some campaign against palm oil. They said that it is not environmental friendly, the palm tree. Yeah. And also they said that it has a negative effect on the carbon emission. So what you can say about that?
Not true, because if you look at psychoanalysis, we have done life cycle analysis for palm oil and carbon emission. And the mill is better than any other oils in terms of carbon emission. Yeah, in terms of carbon emission. And in fact, I will explain then how we could even improve the situation with regard to the palm oil milling and the environment. Because we can find another way of processing, giving you new products, which I want to explain afterwards. I believe, in the human creativity, and I think particularly I'm very interested in the development of the youth in Malaysia and in many other countries, and that in the case of Malaysia and many countries, the students are hardworking, are very obedient, and the parents too are very concerned about education. In fact, education is part of the good tradition. But as I mentioned to you, with my particular perspective, not only you should learn what is known, but you must mentally prepare to tackle the unknown. In other words, the creativity of these people, of our people, must be encouraged. And so I felt that perhaps I'd like to play a role, and together with ADU, with ITD, and through my organization called Minds, to encourage the people from young to realize their full potential. I believe every person has something to contribute. I just explained this idea. One day I expressed to my class of 150. I told them, I don't want any of you to be exactly like me, because you are exactly like me, there's no progress. I expect that you have some of your information, knowledge, latent ability, like a wave. I'm giving you my wave, and these two waves will combine to a new wave. So my idea of education is not that you remember what I tell you, but we will interact, and you will think of something even better than either of us. So the idea is to empower the young, to bring out new ideas, solve new problems. And now in democracy, I feel it's important that the society, the civil society, should do their part to work with whoever that wins the election to rule the country, to work together for the benefit of the country and mankind. So we should not leave only to the rulers, the administrators, the statesmen, the politicians alone. We should work with them, and we should bring out our contribution so that we make the country as a whole to benefit, and we must work for the good of the country. Minds would like to collaborate with ADU and ITD in the social objectives, social contribution, and I think that's a lot we can do together to make the world a better place and our society a better state, for of human life.
Thanks, Professor Augustine. You are a visionary person and always look forward, taking care of the future generation. But also you are taking care of the elderly, because this year starts the decade of caring for elderly. What you prepare for the elderly to have a very positive lifestyle?
My view of the elderly is that, it takes about 30 years of education before we start contributing, depending on the different level. We go up to the PhD and postdoctoral, it's about 30 years of training. And you work for another 30 years, and you're retired. So I feel that we will lengthen the productivity of our people, so then they don't retire. They don't retire at all, and there's no reason for retirement. Now, of course, in the old days, we have a retirement scheme so that the expatriate officers go back and they stay 4 more years to enjoy back in the home country, and the thing is that, but retirement may not be doing good to the person, because for my active life to complete retirement is disastrous. Now I give an example. It's not so much we want people to work forever, but I never explain about that. I went to Oxford twice in my career, and I found 2 professors. One complete retirement, the other one still behaving like undergraduate, mixing with foreign students, playing tennis, having dinner. Nothing wrong with him. The professor who sits on the rocking chair for 6 months experienced diseases never experienced before. And so I have a very amateurish view about life and health and retirement. I feel that our mind controls our whole body. All this is not scientific, like Martin says, is gut feeling. My gut feeling is that mind controls the whole body. Now, if the mind says to the other organs, heart, we are now retired, we have nothing to do, we just have to rest. Lung, we have done everything all this life, now time to retire. Now, if all the organs retire, you are finished. You are finished.
Yep.
So we have to tell the organs. I tell my organ, I have work to do. I've still got something to do. I've got time to fulfill. I've got mission to accomplish.
Exactly.
So what we want to, therefore, right from the beginning, from young, if I tell my colleagues, I say, what you should tell your children. Don't tell them work hard, work hard. That's what very good tradition of working hard. Tell them, ask them what are they interested in. Interested in art, interested in invention, interested in science, interested in business, interested in making money, that's okay. I help them to pursue their interests. Now, if that is the attitude, after all the training and the working, after they reach 60, they will not retire because they will pursue their interests. If a man at 60 years old come to work and you say, why are you working? You said, why are you stopping me from enjoying myself?
Yeah.
That's with the attitude. The working is not is the drudgery. Working is fulfillment. You know, I quote this one incident. A Nobel laureate in Taiwan. He goes home every day about 12 o'clock at night, and he told us. The wife never said, Lee, oh poor Lee, you work so hard today. No, he said, Lee, how much have you enjoyed yourself today? And this is the attitude we should have. Now, if you enjoy your work and you continue working, you'll be less occasion to get sick.
Yeah.
You'll be happy, you will improve, progressing, and you are an interesting person. You can share your ideas, your discoveries, your findings, or your painting, you know. But by now, try to nurture your children. What are they interested in, and help them to achieve to the zenith, to the end, you know. And after that, you just leave them alone. So I welcome all of you to come and to Kuala Lumpur to participate and interact with the speakers, and also to savor the beauty and of this country, you know, of Malaysia and Asia.
Thank you very much. Highly appreciated, Professor.
Okay.